Under this brown shroud, surrounded by fine wines and aromatic vegetables, lies a single turkey breast, stuffed, braised, and otherwise pampered. We're doing turkey breast braised today on the French Chef.
The French Chef is made possible by a grant from the Polaroid Corporation.
Welcome to the French Chef. I'm Julia Child. We're going to do a lovely braised recipe today. I'm just rearranging all my pots and pans so they'll be in the right place. There. Now, I want to do turkey for 8 people, but I don't want to buy a great big turkey like this. I mean, I want the breast, but I don't want to buy, and I want a great big breast, but I don't want it as big as this one. This is a 30-pounder. And I think what's a wonderful thing that you can get these turkey breasts like this, which is just the breast. And I think this probably is practically a 30-pound breast. And I think they're very deceiving when you're looking in the supermarket case and you see something like this all wrapped up under plastic. It looks rather like a frozen roasting chicken. And you have to look carefully and you see that it is a frozen breast. This is a 9-pound breast, and this is a smaller one. This is about a 5-pound breast, and it looks like a fryer. So I'm going to get this big monster off. Awfully heavy. I wonder how many people it would serve. 50, I should think. And I'm going to go after this breast. And after you've gotten the paper off, this one is mostly defrosted. Wait a minute, I can hear my turkey. I can hear something going too fast over here, so I've got to turn it down. There, I'm just going to keep that like that. Excuse me. I shall go on with my... After you get the outside covering off, I think with frozen breasts, you're much better off peeling off the skin, because I have found that with frozen turkeys, the skin is not particularly good, and if you get rid of it, it doesn't taste like frozen turkey. In fact, what I like about these turkey breasts is that you can use it like roast veal, and it's about 1/3 the price. And of course, they vary very much in price according to the season of the year. In July and August, for instance, they're way, way down, while they're way, way up around the holidays. As you can see with this skin, it's rather recalcitrant, but you just pull it off and cut always against the skin, and then you won't bruise the meat of this enormous breast. And I think when it's frozen, I think the best way, if you have the time, is to let it defrost in its cover in the icebox. And they take, 2 or 3 days in the refrigerator to defrost completely. And for some recipes, like the recipe that I'm going to do for you, you don't have to have it completely defrosted. And you will see why as we get along. And now I know people hate to throw things away, but I just don't believe in using this skin for anything at all. Maybe, I think you might grind it up for dog or cat food, or for, if you have pigs, give it to them. But I just don't think it has a good taste. Now, there's a little bit adhering here. And off and out. And now you can really might have a pretty good idea of what this breast is like. Now here is the ridge of the breastbone that goes right down, and this is the tail end and the tip of the breastbone. And this is, you remember, with the roast chickens, if it's slightly cartilaginous, it shows that the turkey was still young. And if it's completely bone hard all the way to the tip here, it shows that it was probably a 9 or 10 months old turkey or even older. And around here, you have the wishbone right in there. And it's just an enormous amount of flesh on there, as you can see. Then, depending on who did it, very often these ribs are left on. I suppose there's probably maybe half a pound of weight in there so that they can charge for the ribs the same amounts that they charge for the whole breast. And they're easily taken off. In fact, I think it makes the boning of the breast later on a little easier. But one thing, once you've got the skin off and any adhering fat, save everything else that you find in the turkey for either a turkey soup or stock or for ground turkey. Now see, there still is meat here which you can take off, and if you're doing, you could make a turkey burger, for instance, with that amount of meat. Or if you wanted a nice stock, leave a little bit of the meat on to give you of a meaty flavor. There's some more. That's a nice thick. That would be the lower part of the breast meat. But what is amazing to me, for a really quite a reasonable price, you get practically, except for the skin and the ribs and the rib and this bone, you have practically all meat. And what we're going to do this time is to bone out the breasts. And here is the ridge of the breastline bone, and it's very, very simple. You just cut right down. As you see, it just comes off as easy as pie. I guess it's about the easiest boning job you could ever have. And it's all on such a big scale that there is no problem to it. And if you're going to bone, you can bone it while the turkey isn't quite defrosted too. Though it's a little bit more difficult because when you get down to the inside, it's sometimes a little harder. Take off. There. Now, one thing you want to do, also there's this tendon here, and take that out. That, if the turkey breast is frozen, you can't take out. But it's a very good thing with your impeccably clean towel to hold on to one end, and you just pull it against your knife, because that is tough. There. And now, as with the chicken, you have two parts to the breast. You have what they call the filet and the filet mignon. And this under part here, where that tendon was, is the filet mignon, or the underside. And if you want, you can take this off and just save that for a little turkey sauté. So you have a tremendous amount of wonderful meat in the breast. Now, what we're going to do is slice the breast, and then it's going to be stuffed and reformed. So I'm going to take a big knife and just slice it into as even pieces as possible. Now this breast was a 9-pound breast for the whole thing, and we can get 8 good slices in this. There's me. And you can make them any size you want. It depends on how you want to reform your roast. But now this is very much like, you can, for any recipe for veal, French veal, you can substitute turkey. You could use these for, instead of veal scallops, or if you had a stuffed, marinated veal roast. Now that little tiny piece I'm going to leave off, and I'm going to cheat and take a bit off of this one to get one more nice piece. And then I think for this recipe, have a little cognac and just sprinkle a few drops over and put on a little salt and pepper. And then while you're fixing your stuffing, that will absorb a nice little taste. And there's pepper. And then set that aside. And now we're going to braise this turkey. And you have all of this carcass, and you want to use the carcass for part of your stock. And the only way you're going to be able to cut it up is to whack it up. I always seem to be whacking, but I don't know what else you can do when you've got a great big thing like this. And I think, because you're always going to run into these things, provide yourself with the proper whacking equipment, which I think is the rubber hammer. And this is a big French cleaver called a feuille à fendre, or a leaf for whacking, I guess. And then there's a big piece, plunk. There. Now that is all ready to be used either in a stock or as in a braising liquid. And with this, we're going to have vegetables. We have 2 cups of vegetables there. There's half a cup of carrots and half a cup of chopped celery and a cup of onions. And that, if you're going to use either for stock or for soup, it's just the right thing to have. Let's see if I've got somewhat cleaned up here. Now, then while the turkey is being stuffed, you cook the vegetables and these bits of turkey carcass. And I think I've probably got a little bit too much here. I'll put in one more. So I have to have room for my braised turkey. And then put the cover on the pan, and that can cook quietly while the turkey is being stuffed. I put in about 2 tablespoons of butter there. Now, I'll put this underneath. Get rid of it. And this will cook, about 10 or 15 minutes, because you're going to get much more flavor out of it if the vegetables have been softened and cooked so that they will give off their flavor. And now we have the stuffing, and you can stuff the turkey with anything that you would normally stuff a turkey with. And if you want it to be rather French, you would use a meat stuffing like this. And this is a piece of washed cheesecloth, and the roast is going to be spread on the cheesecloth. And there's the turkey, and then you just put some stuffing on. For this amount of turkey, this is about, you could say, the equivalent of a 5-pound breast, about 2 cups of stuffing. But this can vary. You can make a very, very thin layer or a rather thick layer. It very much depends on exactly what you want to do. And this is a ground veal or turkey and pork stuffing. Kind we have used several times before. It's really it's what in France they would call a farce fine, and it has cognac and a bit of onions and herbs in it. Then the usual proportions are 1 part meat to a 1/3 part fat, and then stuffings, and then herbs, Well, the main thing what I'm doing with this I want you to see in this recipe is to see what you can do with a turkey breast rather than the exact kind of things that you can do. And I'm not going to, for instance, go into sauce making because I think the mechanics of the breast is the most interesting part. And then the cheesecloth gets folded over, and then it's going to be tied up into a sausage shape. Now with this you can cut the pieces of turkey any size you want. You see, you have this here, and you could make long slanting slices, or little tiny ones, or even if you wanted to, you could turn this into a terrine or a pâté and use the same kind of a stuffing. So once you have this turkey meat, you can do infinite numbers of things with it. And I think this is a particularly nice one. Now, this we want to have tied up. It's going to be in a sausage shape. So take one end and twist it hard, and then tie it. We always seem to be tying up something, but this seems to be what you end up doing in French cooking. Now, on the other end, you want to push it. See, by pushing it up this way, you're pushing the slices against each other to make a nice tight roast. And that is twisted again. I think we once did a ballotine of turkey in which the whole turkey was, yes, we did, in which the whole turkey was boned, and then instead of cheesecloth, you used the skin as a casing for the turkey. And I must say, that's a very good thing to do, too. Now, we don't need any more ends than that, so I'll cut those off. And this still has a flimsy, soft look, so what it needs is the body tie. So again, need loads of string. I hope I have enough. I'll give it another tie up here, and then this will be wound down. But you'll see from being rather flimsy, when we get the string around the sides here, it's going to have much more body to it. If you have pig's caul fat, you could use that instead of cheesecloth. But I've used cheesecloth because in lots of parts of the country you can't get any pig's caul, which is too bad, and that's mainly because nobody asks for it. But you see already it's taking its good shape. And cheesecloth works extremely well. You can also use it as if you're making sausage and don't have sausage casings, you can use cheesecloth. To have enough string. Yeah, that was a piece of luck, really. There, now see, that actually holds its shape well enough, and it is going to be browned a little bit, which will make it hold together more. See, now that is really not a difficult thing to do at all. I'm going to clean up a little more here. And with I was going to talk more about that, but I think we'd better get to the browning of our turkey. I'm going to take a look at the vegetables in here and see how they're doing. And I want also to see how my ready turkey is, because I don't want that to overcook. Those could be cooking just a little faster. I don't think I had that on quite fast enough. Well, but when you're doing it, cook it for let it cook for about 10 or 15 minutes until the vegetables are nicely softened. And then you want to brown the turkey, and you put some cooking oil or light olive oil, enough to film a skillet. This is a French, what is called a French fish frying skillet. But I use it for, oh, I need some more heat in that. I find it wonderful for browning roasts in. I don't frankly like to brown a roast in the casserole and try to brown the vegetables with it too, because it just really doesn't work out well. Now, when that oil is good and hot, in goes the turkey. And you would think it's odd that to brown something with cheesecloth in it, but it browns perfectly well, as you will see. Well, when you see this one, you will see how it works. And I'm not going to brown the whole thing, but you turn it and brown it nicely on all sides. And then I'll turn this off, and then put it in the casserole. We'll just pretend that that's nice and brown. Put that over here. I have to take out some of this turkey to get the roast in here. But after you've browned it, it'll be a little bit stiffer. Now, see, now that fits in nicely, and then put these bits of turkey and vegetables back over it. And it should get some white wine and some bouillon. And then it goes into the oven. It should come up to the simmer. And then you put it into the oven and put it at 350 degrees, and you let it cook. I'm not going to put it in. And let it cook for about an hour and a quarter. And an hour and a quarter, that depends really on the girth, and the girth of this is about 4.5 inches only, and I found it at an hour and a quarter, or to a temperature of 170 degrees, and it is done. And there it is, all done. And you have these absolutely beautiful cooking juices, in which you should turn into a sauce. And we've done so many sauces of that kind. I'm not going to do it for you because we're doing mainly the turkey. Now, take the strings off, but one very important thing is that after you've cooked the turkey, which was an hour and 15 minutes, let it rest out of the oven for at least 20 minutes before you undo it, because you want it to shrink, the juices to shrink back into the flesh again, so that the slices won't come apart. I'm going to put on, well, I'm going to put on my glasses so I can see better. Well, this meat stuffing had some egg in it. They always have 2 cups of egg, 1 egg per 2 cups of stuffing, and that's supposed to hold the stuffing in place. And then you peel off your cheesecloth quite gingerly. It adheres a little bit to the meat, which is normal. If you were using pig's caul, nothing would adhere to the meat, because it would all absorb. But this, I think, is a really satisfactory substitute. You just have to be a little careful with it. Turn that on there. Now we have Le Platter. I'll put this over here. See, it's beginning to come apart a little bit there, so you want to be very careful, because I've got to peel it off the other side. I think this is the only tricky part about this, is getting your cheesecloths off. I'll give you a better view. And now very, very carefully onto the platter. Well, that's held together very nicely. And then, to make it look more, I'll make it look, cover up any of these little bits. You cover it with sauce. I'm going to beat that up a little bit. That's one thing when they say mask with sauce, what they use it for is to mask any little holes. See, that really looks lovely. And this is the sauce that has been made out of those beautiful braising juices. And then parsley around, and it's ready to serve. There. There, let you see how easy it is to serve this, which is marvelous. There you are, and with this we're having Brussels sprouts, and I'll get this parsley out of the way. Now watch this. What you do, you very carefully separate. I think that has two pieces, so I'm going to do one like that. There you are, and with this we're having Brussels sprouts and a nice red Bordeaux wine, and here's some more sauce that goes over on the side of it. And I think this is a really marvelous dish, and I think because it really makes a holiday out of every day of the year. And and it's a great relief because you don't have to carve. You can just sit down and eat with everybody. So that's all for today on The French Chef. This is Julia Child. Bon appétit!
This program was made possible by a grant from Polaroid Corporation. Julia Child is the author of From Julia Child's Kitchen, which includes the recipes from this program.